So low IV, low IV, low IV. Why low IV, Joe? Well, I look for low IV contracts for a couple of reasons. One, unusual whales is the most comprehensive flow service in the market right now. And as a result of them being the most comprehensive, I have the most amount of data available to me, which allows me to filter out for things like low IV. And I like low IV because I like cheaper contracts, to be honest. But everything else is calculated by using IV as an input to options pricing. Okay, so your Greeks, your deltas, your thetas, your Romans, whatever, they're all influenced by IV. When IV moves, the price of the contract moves. And in addition to that, and them being a little bit cheaper, that makes for a nice risk reward, in my opinion. Now, that's why I like low IV. There's a million different ways, probably, that you can manipulate the data, okay? With unusual whales, you have everybody's option contract buying and selling. Everybody's. Everything that goes through the market, you see it. I see my own contracts come up, okay? As a result, you have everybody from, millionaires with insider knowledge to millionaires who have money to blow, to the children of people with a lot of money, to, the guy working minimum wage with a Robinhood app who, just tosses a couple bucks in and wants to see if he can turn a decent, whatever. Everybody. That's what I'm getting at. It's everybody. You have access to all of their transactions. So it helps me as a trader be able to filter that out. And what I like to look for is cheap contracts with low IV that I can swing. Because when you buy time on low IV and the stock moves, IV moves with it, and the price of the contract, therefore, also moves. And I like it because, in my opinion, it is a low-cost entry into a nice swing trade. Do they always pan out? No. No, they don't. But when they do, they make for a nice return. So, with that being said, nothing in this video or any other video on YouTube or X that you come across where they say these are the filters you should use and you can take signals based off these filters. Don't do it, okay? There's no right or wrong way to set up filters because there's so many different traders, there's so many different people. Everybody's port is different. Everybody's risk is different, okay? And when you realize that not everybody is trading the same, then you have to start taking that information and making it your own. Because the person you're buying signals from on some Discord group does not have the same risk tolerance as you. In addition, they probably don't even have a risk tolerance. They're probably using paper money and you're using your real money. So, that being said, don't take anything in this video or anybody else's video as a way to set up filters and take trade signals. This is not a trade signal service. Unusual Whales is an information service that you use to better your trading. Okay? With that being said, here's how I would set up a low IV filter and how I would go about looking for things that I would like to trade, swing on a cheap. Cheap is such a relative term. Cheap to someone is not cheap to someone else, but cheap to me. Okay. We're going to start here. I'm going to just reset the filters so we start from scratch. And you can find these in this menu right up here, options, data, flow feed. Okay. We'll close those out. First off, I don't want any bid, mid, or no side. I'm not looking for sell to open. I'm not looking for mid fills. And I'm not looking for no sides, which could be literally anything. The chain activity ask percentage I'm going to put at 80%, which is 0.80 as a minimum, which means that at a minimum, that chain's volume is 80% on the ask. Okay? Bid and skew, I'm going to leave empty. Calls and puts, I want both, so I'm going to show them. I do not want ETFs or indices. I will leave ADRs and stocks. I'm going to skip premium for now, and I'm going to go right to spot. I'm going to set a max of 1.5, which is $150 a contract. I'm going to set a minimum DTE of 5 because I don't really care to see low IV stuff that is expiring within the week that I'm looking at it. Reason being, there's not a real, most of that stuff is sell to open anyway. And it's in a position that it doesn't benefit me. So I'm just not going to even bother looking at it. The rest of these I can leave empty. Come down here to Greeks, and I am going to put for a max. So the left side is minimum. The right side is maximum. I'm going to put a max IV of 0.25. That's going to filter out anything over 25% IV and give me everything less than 25% IV. The rest will remain empty. I want sweeps. I do not want cross because I do not care about any broker or anything else, any trades of that stature. I'll leave sweep, floor, and normal on. The extras I'll keep on. And then down here at the others, this is where we start to bring it. We start to bring it home a little bit more. I want opening trades, which means the size is over the ask, or the size is over the open interest, which means if there's more size than there is open interest, we look a little bit deeper, and I'm looking at something that's most likely going to be opening contracts, because they can't be closing out more contracts than there are, right? Right. I'm going to exclude deep in the money because in the money contracts do not interest me. I am not going to check out the money only because that will eliminate most of the at the money stuff. Checking exclude deep in the money will give me some in the money contracts. See this out the money percentage column right here? -3%. These are in the money. That's fine by me. Okay, getting 1 or 2 here and there, 3 from time to time, not a big deal in my opinion. I am going to turn single leg only on. And then I want aggregated trades as well. And that'll help make sure I get some of those aggregated trades versus all blocked. All right. So that narrows that down quite a bit. I have my results set out to 250. And I've already got, there's not even 250 here for Friday. That's helped me narrow this down quite a bit, but I'm still getting $100 here, $80 there. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to come back up to premium, and I'm going to set just 25,000 as a base. Now, nothing I put in is set in stone, okay? This video is not to say this is how you do it, do this, and if you don't, you're wrong. Change these things if you don't like them. If you're looking for contracts that are only no more than $100, change the spot to 1. Okay. If you're looking for maybe something with lower premium, you want to catch some of those people that know something but don't want to put all their money into something. You could lower that to maybe 10,000. Up to you. Feel free to change things around. But notice that after I put the premium to 25,000. This list got real short for Friday. And this is all the stuff that came through on Friday that follow these filters. And now we're going back in time pretty quickly. We can go back into June with how much has come through the market following these filters. That helps me whittle this down, whittle all that information down. Everybody's flow, everybody's contract buying and selling, everybody from billionaires to millionaires to, whoever. I see it right here. whittled down to something that makes sense for me. And that is what is so important, in my opinion, when you look for services in the financial trading sphere. Look for something that you can make your own that speaks to you. There are so many people out there who will sell you something in a heartbeat to get your money in their pocket. Okay, I have been using Unusual Whales for an unusually amount of time now, in my opinion. It's been at least, I want to say, 4 years that I've been using this site. It is not a buy signal site. Nothing that comes through this should be construed as a buy or sell signal. I'm not saying that to alleviate myself of any legal responsibility. I'm saying that because it's true. Do not put yourself in a position where you end up doing something that somebody else tells you to do in this world, because somebody is more than happy to take your money if you are willing to put it up. So find a service like Unusual Whales where, yes, I realize I just said that, and now I'm going to say, yes, you have to pay for this service. But nothing in this, they didn't get this information for free. Okay? You think the markets, the exchanges are just going to give access to this? They're not, all right? So it does come with a price. It's not even a hefty price. I would guarantee you that Unusual Whales is probably the cheapest flow service out there. And if you use somebody else's promo code, I get 10% off with my code. Other people, I think, have bigger codes, right? I don't know. But find something that works for you, right? And find something that isn't just someone telling you what to do as long as you give them money. This is not telling you what to do. This is paying for access to information, and we are whittling it down to make something work for me. So now we can go back and look at these. Like 95,000 into Disney, probably not too much. The volume is 2,500. OI is 15. So we have more volume than open interest. The size was 2,199, which is like the majority of the volume, all more than the open interest. I'm not too keen on the 6 days expiration on these puts, but clearly somebody is putting these in. Now looking at the overall like premium, the net premium up here. Looking at the overall net premium, I'm seeing not a huge shift the past like 14 days, the past 2 weeks in calls and puts. On the 23rd, there was a big move up, and then there was a big move down on the 24th, and then they bought it back up. So would I necessarily get into this? Probably not, especially with 6 days to expire. Just doesn't seem like that would be where I'd want to go, especially on a lower net premium day. Not a whole lot. If there was like a ridiculous spike in put volume or put premium, then I might look into this, but there's not. So I'm going to move on. Let's check out these C contracts. A lot of entry here. A lot of volume coming through. 74% on the ask for just the strike. 56% sweeps, 1.1 million. Not all of these, I'm guessing probably about 15,000 will go to open interest. We'll see. But it's 9% of the total premium for a very large bank into this one contract. And on the right side, if we notice, call premiums increased, but put premiums, they pieced out on Friday. So looks like, in my opinion, options traders are looking for some sort of move up here on C. So this would be something that I'd want to take a look at. I'm going to add this I'm going to click the little plus button. That's going to add it to my list here so I can follow up with it on Monday. But this, I mean, this is it right here. This comes through real time. When I'm sitting here looking at my computer, I can see something pop up on the low V filter. I can pull up the chart, say, hey, yeah, C dipped below blah, blah, blah. Maybe they're buying it up. Someone's expecting some call, some upward action next week, relatively quick with 6 days to expiration, right? You're going to end up, using these filters as they are with some leap options. So there's J&J leaps right here. 95 with 510 days. Not a whole lot of premium for the day, but you know what? That might be something that if I was looking into Johnson & Johnson leaps and I liked, their chart, maybe I heard some news coming up that they might have. I might want to look into something like this. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. But what I want to stress is that this is where I get a start, right? And where I start looking for things that I might want to put my money into. Not all of these are going to be bangers, right? Now we can go back, or I can go back and I can scroll down and we can see some of these other ones too. Let's take these Walmarts from June 7th, 83 days. So they added 413 contracts here. Yeah, they're not doing so hot. There's been adding every day, but you know what? It's mostly, it's not really going up, right? They got in on an average of 148, and the contracts have just done nothing but degrade down to the 60s at one point. So maybe somebody is still waiting. I don't know. It's only $60,000 on something like Walmart. So you do have to apply some knowledge. $60,000 isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of Walmart's options. So as you can see, it's only 1% of their total premium for that day on the 7th. And if we look, it's a pretty average day for Walmart. So maybe not the best example here, but a good example to say, hey, not everything is a banger, right? Not everything pans out. This person's still sitting in there with $61,000. Still there. Are they going to lose it or not? Who knows? Well, let's check out something else, like these Honeywell. Honeywell is one of my favorite ones to trade, but this is only 6 days. They entered at 9, and the next day they blew up to 234, right? One tick in IV, a nice move up on the chart. The next thing you know, you got yourself a banger. So they got in at 90. 2 days later, they were up to 300. And now they're pretty much worthless. But this is the stuff that I like to see. Something like this. Decent amount, 15% of the volume. Cheap, in my opinion, for what I'm looking for. Entry. And then 3 days later, 200%. Boom, like that. So there's bangers in here too. There's also duds. Just be wary of that. You do have to put forth some effort into figuring these out. They came in at 60 here. And a few days later, they're up in the 80s, 115s. Not a bad little swing. 135s, still up there, right? This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to see. And because I have it filtered down so far, I personally like to look back and see, okay, these filters, are they working? Are these other people who traded within these filters requirements making money? If they're not, maybe I should change my filters. But if they are, well, what can I learn from that? How can I apply that to my trading? Unusual Whales, most comprehensive, feature-rich flow service available, in my opinion. Coupon code Joe gets you 10% off. There's also a link in the description. Hit it up. If you found this video useful, great. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Have a good one.